another episode of Tampa Bay Politics. I am your host, Angela Birdsong. During the week, I'm affectionately called the Medicare lady.
I like it.
That's what I love doing. But today, I am talking to one of our political movers and shakers right here in the Tampa Bay area, because I know some of you just don't have the time to get out and find out what's going on in politics. So that is why we're here. And I am so happy to have in the house Mr. Joe Henderson.
Thank you for that.
Formerly of the Tampa Tribune.
Let us bow our heads.
We love that place. I worked there for a little while. I forgot to tell you.
I worked there for 40 years.
40 years. God bless America. Well, I know that that's not your job right now. You work for a very hot and up-and-coming website called Florida Politics.
Yes, I do. It's the number one most followed political website in the state of Florida. It's the website that the political leaders turn to first.
You know, that's very important that you say political leaders, because I know people who are working on campaigns, they look at what's going on in Florida politics. You are the leading edge. You know what's going on, what's going to happen, what is happening in Florida politics from the ground up, really.
Yeah, it got a large staff, and it's going to get larger.
Okay.
And doing a lot of expansion. And it's a very well-sourced reporters. They're not just flying off at the hip. They talk to the people who make the news.
Okay.
And, and they work their backsides off, and I have nothing but high praise for all of them.
Wonderful. You know what? At Tampa Bay Politics, we always start off with where you began in life. Where were you born?
I was born in a hospital in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
And grew up in a little bitty town you probably never heard of called Lebanon, Ohio.
Okay.
Halfway between Cincinnati and Dayton. And then went to high school there, graduated, came on down to Florida.
Okay, where'd you go to high school? Because you never know.
Lebanon High School.
Lebanon High School.
Home of the Warriors. Maroon and white.
And then where did you go to college?
Well, I went to first, I had a stop in Ocala at what was then called Central Florida Community College. It's now the College of Central Florida.
Okay.
And kind of bounced around a little bit. That's where I learned that I could actually make a career out of writing for a newspaper.
Okay.
And I was a sports writer at first.
Oh, I see.
Went back to my hometown.
Now, you graduated as a journalism major?
Well, basically, yes. It was, I took an odd path, shall we say. After Central Florida, went back, which was a 2-year college, went back to my hometown and became the sports editor of the local weekly newspaper.
Okay.
Did that for 3 years, and like I like to tell people, that's where I earned my graduate degree.
All right. You were it was on-the-job training.
On-the-job training. Opportunity came to come back to Florida. I wound up at the Tampa Tribune and USF, and then I embarked on this amazing career of covering big-time sports events.
So you started at the Tribune doing sports?
For a long time I did sports.
Okay.
And then what happened was, back in 2011, Tribune was going through some labor issues. We were laying a lot of people off, as a lot of newspapers do. And it was a day after I was in Jacksonville for a Bucks game where they were basically mauled by the Jaguars.
Okay.
And got home, got a call early the next morning, and it was from one of the editors at the Tribune. He said, "Hey man, just let you know what's going on. You move from sports to news effective immediately. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye."
Wow.
And I became...
What'd you think about that?
I was glad to have a job. And so I became a Metro columnist at the Tribune. Battlefield promotion, as you will. And began to realize one thing about writing in sports was that pretty much the audience, they may not always like what I had to say, but they were all Bucks fans or, Rays fans or whatever. politics, and especially on the local level, it ain't that way. You know,
It's a blood sport.
oh, it totally is. It's the Hunger Games. And 50% of the people are going to like what you say, and 50% of the people are going to hate what you say.
And I mean hate.
So you can't equivocate. You just got to say what's on your mind and deal with the feedback. And, you know, I've developed a pretty thick old alligator hide over the years, so that's just part of the deal.
So when you originally started out, what year were we talking about when you were doing the Metro?
The Metro was 2011.
Okay.
And, but I started at the Tribune. We're coming up on the anniversary of it, August 19th, 1974.
Wow.
I was dumb enough to think I could do it.
And you did it.
Yep. Had a great run.
Wow. So, of course, you went through the demise of the Tribune.
Yeah, that was a bad day. That was back in 2016, May 3rd at about 3 p.m. Not that I remember many details about it. We were bought and immediately closed by our blood rival, the Tampa Bay Times. And, you know, what was interesting about that was even as I was sitting in the auditorium waiting to be officially told I didn't have a job, Peter Sorsch of FloridaPolitics.com, it was called St. Peter's Blog then, sent a text message saying, give me a call.
Oh, he
And,
was waiting,
you know,
in the wings.
So I did,
Good job.
and started writing for them and been doing it ever since.
Wow. So you didn't really stay unemployed very long.
No, not really. And for me, it's perfect. I can work at home. You know, as long as my cell phone is charged, I'm in good shape. And Peter gives me total free reign over what to write. He never once will say, you know, write about this guy because I like him, or he'll buy an ad or something like that. Or even more important, don't say this about so-and-so because he's a good advertiser. Never says that. And I know I've caused him some grief, but that's the way it goes.
Wow. Well, you know what? I actually had a little stint at the Tampa Tribune. My degree is in communications, and I was actually in ad sales there.
Mm-hmm. So you helped pay my salary.
I helped pay. So that was an interesting little run there. Unfortunately, local news is in trouble.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, to the people listening to this, what I would say is you're the ones that are going to be hurt by it.
Yes.
Because local news is the firewall between people who, regular working folk and trying to get by, you know, raise their families. And the other side of the firewall are people who don't have your best interests at heart.
Yes.
And they're the ones that are going to scream fake news when there's a story they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you something. I know what it takes to get a story published. It's not easy. You've got people editing, reading, fact-checking, and everything else. And if you get it deliberately wrong, you get sued. So
yes.
People in my
It almost looks like they want to come after you when you're right.
Well, of course they do, because you made their life uncomfortable.
Right.
But that's what we do. We stand up. We used to have a saying in the business that you afflict the comforted and comfort the afflicted. And, you know, that's kind of what we do. You know, I've been chewed out by the best of them. And
well, you know, you got your feet on the ground. You see the story immediately. Where those guys in the Washington Post, they might not find out about a story in Tampa, Florida for who knows how long.
Well, that's correct. And of course, right now Florida's in the spotlight with the governor.
We are in the spotlight because of our governor.
Yeah, it's a very strange time because he's running for re-election in 2022. As Florida Politics recently reported, his poll numbers right now, his approval rating, they're underwater. More people disapprove of him than approve. And it's all over this mass COVID-19 response. and
But you know what? Before we move on to the dreaded DeSantis, I want to talk a little bit more about Florida politics, a little bit about this guy, Peter. Who is he, and how did he even get started?
well, that's a great question. He was over in St. Petersburg and started what he called St. Peter's blog.
Okay.
And he took on the establishment over there. He was a thorn in the side to the Tampa Bay Times.
Oh, good.
They did not like him very much, and they still
Okay.
don't. So he had this great interest in politics. And as he began to work this St. Peter's blog, it began to grow, got more subscribers, and people were. And by the way, anybody out there, it's free to go to floridapolitics.com. You don't have to pay anything.
And
But-
you can become a subscriber,
Yeah.
and you get all the stories.
Every bit. We have a newsletter that comes out every morning called Sunburn that has more stuff in it than you can imagine. But anyway, so Peter worked it hard, began to attract a following,
Okay.
and it grew, and then it outgrew St. Peter's blog and became floridapolitics.com.
When would you say that happened?
That happened, maybe 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
He ditched the blog because he wanted to keep it going, but he just not enough hours in the day.
Okay.
And so now we have, 10, 12 reporters, something like that,
Okay.
full time,
Oh, wonderful.
that scattered throughout the state. You can find out what's going on in Miami. You can find out what's going on in Orlando, Jacksonville, the Panhandle, and of course, Tampa Bay.
Wonderful.
And we have people who keep watch on local politicians, like your county commissioners and city council members, and of course, the state lawmakers in Tallahassee.
And these things are very important. We're finding out these bodies are so important to our lives.
Well, that's a great point, Angela, because here's the deal. Everybody gets wrapped up about, Trump versus Biden.
Right.
Okay, that actually has not that much impact on your life.
Right.
Okay, Marco Rubio and Rick Scott, your senators, really don't have that much impact on your life. Your life is largely affected by people. You may not even know who they are, but they're your state representatives and state senators in Tallahassee, a solid Republican majority, and they are the ones that are passing all these
Draconian laws
and erecting, barriers to
to
voting
vote,
rights.
voter suppression.
And then to break it down even more, your local county commission and city council, they really impact your life. You got to know who these people are, and you got to hold them accountable.
Well, fortunately, we had something called the four county commissioners who thought it was a good idea to have a Confederate monument in front of the courthouse. And so over that little incident where a lot of community members got involved, we now have a majority Democratic county commission.
That's it.
Because people started to realize, who are these people?
Yeah, and Hillsboro's demographics are changing.
Yes, they
It's
are.
becoming much more blue. I live out in the east part of the county, Brandon area,
Okay.
and that was solid red. But it's changing.
It's changing. And, we have people like New Yorkers coming in here, people from Chicago, and they bring their viewpoints with them.
Yes, they do. And they register and they vote. And that's how you get change.
Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about some of those stories that you're covering in floridapolitics.com.
Sounds good.
All right.
When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be.
On your smooth soul and R&B station.
On the World Wide Web.
In Touch Radio.
Hi, this is Angela Birdsong with Tampa Bay Politics. And not only can you catch us on InTouchNews.com every Wednesday at 11 a.m., we now have a website at TampaBayPoliticsPodcast.com. We are on Apple, Google, Spotify, and Stitcher, which you can log in at any time and listen to Tampa Bay Politics. Hey, we're back, and I am so excited to have in the house with me a real live Florida journalist, Mr. Joe Henderson. Yay! With FloridaPolitics.com. I hope you all will go to that website immediately and definitely check it out, because if you want to know what's in the know in Florida politics, I will let you know that's the place to go. When I ran for office, my campaign manager is like, we got to get on Florida politics.
It's the site where we have saturation coverage. We tell you probably more than you want to know about local politics and statewide politics. And you got to know that the movers and the shakers, the people that you're talking about,
Yes.
that's their go-to website when they want to find out what's happening on, in their party or the other party or their opponent or whatever. We got it covered.
Okay, so you're covering Republicans, Independents,
We cover
Democrats,
everybody.
the same.
Everybody.
Everybody. If it has to do with politics in Florida, it's going to be in there.
It absolutely is. And now it's important for your listeners and viewers to know the difference between what I do and what the reporters do.
Okay.
The reporters are fact-based.
Okay.
If they find out that person A over here has their hand in the till or said something they shouldn't or whatever, they're going to report that. Just tell you the facts. What I do, I am a columnist.
Okay.
And which means
You have an opinion.
I have to have an opinion.
Okay.
If I don't have an opinion, nobody's going to read my column because
Okay.
they're going, well, I already know all that other stuff.
Right.
So what I get is, from the trolls, I get a lot of pushback of like, well, you're supposed to be unbiased.
Right.
Well, yeah, I'm unbiased in the fact that I'll rip Democrats the same as I'll rip Republicans, the same as I'll rip independents.
Okay.
But I will also praise when I believe it's merited.
Okay.
I'm going to shock you here. I've actually written nice things about Ron DeSantis.
I bet you did in the beginning.
A lot of it in the beginning. It's sort of taken a turn to the other side lately. But,
Yes.
it's,
He's taken a turn to the dark side, unfortunately.
but, it's like I call it as I see it. And actually, if the truth was told, the MAGA crowd, Trump crowd, probably thinks I'm a communist or, whatever.
A socialist, something like
Socialist,
that.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm probably center left, which means, I'm probably more in line with Biden,
Okay.
I think as a nation with the resources that we have should be trying to help people rather than hold them back.
Yes.
I think we shouldn't be erecting more barriers to vote. We should be trying to get more people access to the ballot box. And we all know why they're doing it.
We all know why they're doing it, because this country is going to be predominantly black and brown, I think, by 2050.
Well, it's not going to take that long.
And I think it's accelerating at this point.
Well, and what that means, so your listeners will understand, that means that as that trend continues, the Republicans, as they claim that they are the party of inclusion.
They do they?
That's what they
Inclusion of white men?
pretty much. What they do is, well, they will rig it. It's called gerrymandering.
Yes.
And they figured out, and frankly, before Democrats did, that the state legislatures hold the power.
That is correct. And just since you brought up that topic, we are going to go through our redistricting
Right?
very shortly, because we had our last census.
Correct. And you would think that when you divide your districts up, you would just, do it even, but we all know that isn't how it works.
No, that I forgot who what they named gerrymandering after.
It's been going on for a long
But it
time.
was actually a guy that they named it. They named it after.
Yeah.
But anyway, you get whoever's in power
Mm-hmm.
gets to draw the lines.
And usually they draw it in such a way that they can stay in power, which
Correct.
is what they're going to do this time. And just so your listeners understand how this works, both parties have this. It's not unique to Republicans or Democrats. They have an incredible amount of data on pretty much everybody.
Yes.
And so they know with certainty that, okay, in this stretch of the community, it's 70% Democrats, 30% Republicans. So the laws are written that, there has to be at least an attempt at equal representation. We all know that doesn't work. So what they'll do is they'll draw a line like halfway through that community with 70% Democrats. Now all of a sudden it's 35% Democrats, and they'll draw it so that it bleeds over into the Republican-dominated area, and they'll call, okay, that's your new district.
Yes.
And so Republicans are going to vote for their folks, and Democrats are going to vote for theirs, and they draw the lines in such a way as to make sure their party stays in power. Where you can stop that is at the state level, the governor's race, the cabinet race with Nikki Fried as the agriculture commissioner,
Yes.
and things like that. You can't rig that.
Right.
So you have a check and balance on what goes on. The Republicans have been in control in Tallahassee, complete, total control. House Representatives, State Senate, and the governor's mansion since 1998.
That's why we got the problems we got.
Well, and what they do is so many of them, the Republicans, are they get great donations from the National Rifle Association.
The NRA.
And Marion Hammer, the chief lobbyist for the NRA in Florida, she's about 4'10", and everybody in Tallahassee that is a Republican is scared to death of her.
Really?
Because-
Even now?
Oh yeah, because all she's got to do is snap her fingers, and they've got a large database of NRA supporters, and she sends out a
Little email blast.
email blast saying, hey, this guy over here didn't vote the way we want him to vote, so you know what to do.
Wow.
And that all of a sudden that guy's funding dries up, he gets a primary challenge, and
he's out.
so they know if Marion wants it, Marion gets it. And is that to the betterment or the detriment of our communities?
It is to the detriment
So that's a snapshot of how all
of how
this
it works. And she's only one of many, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I mean there's the whole charter school industry,
Yes.
which people don't fully understand it. Now I'll be honest with you, I'm not a complete opponent of charter schools because I think some of them are good, but they don't play by the same rules that public schools do. And what you find is that parents, if they live in a certain school district and they don't like that high school or that middle school, they can opt out and send their kid to a charter school, and where the rules are different. They don't have the same academic requirements. They don't have the same discipline issues. Do you know that like in one of the most successful charter schools in Tampa and Hillsborough County is Brooks DeBartolo High School?
Right.
Okay, there's a long waiting list to get into that.
Yes.
Okay, people like it. They do.
They get results.
They get results. They do good work. But if you send your kid there, you as a parent have to agree to perform so many community service hours per semester, or they kick your kid out.
Really?
Yeah, now, you can't do that in a public school.
You cannot. And you know what? Every parent doesn't have that option.
Every parent does not have that option.
They have to work when the day comes.
Well, yeah. So maybe they go on Saturday or Sunday or something like that. But would that be a good rule for public schools? Probably.
Well, you know what? About 10% of our children actually attend a charter school.
Yeah.
So that means 90% are not in a charter school, but these guys are taking a lot of money out of public school funding.
They absolutely are, and they're going to take more because the state education commissioner, a guy named Richard Corcoran, who lives up in Pasco County, he is a huge advocate for charter schools. And guess what?
His wife is in that business, isn't she?
She runs one. Yay! Very cozy. There's these kind of conflicts all over the state.
And you always have the bad guys who are getting arrested for taking like $9 million in funds, and then the schools closed down, and you got those bad players in there.
Well, and again, it comes back to the people ultimately have the power, but you gotta pay attention to this stuff. And I know, a lot of folks today have too much going on. They're going, I haven't got time for all this. But you need to carve out time for it, because the more you know, the more you can go to the ballot box
Educated,
and you don't want to just go and go, okay, well, I'm going to vote for all the Democrats, although
I'm okay with that.
well, I bet you are, but
I mean, really, the thing is, it used to be, well, I want to vote for the person, but now you have one party that is just so extreme.
they are, and I'm going to say something that will shock you.
Okay.
There are good Republicans out there. Not all of them,
Not all of them.
but not all Democrats either.
I used to feel more like that, but now, of course, like you said, it's good to get to know the people. If there's a forum, go to it.
Well, there is, and there's going to be a lot more coming
There's
up.
going to be a lot of forums. A lot of them are going to be on Zoom, so you're going to have less of a reason why you couldn't see them.
Or you can just go to Florida Politics and read about it.
Yes.
And there was a situation a few months ago, I'm sure you're aware of this, in Tallahassee, where the head of the Democratic Party, Gary Farmer, state senator from Miami, head of the Senate.
The Senate, yes.
Democrat.
Because the head of the
Yeah, the-
Democratic Party is actually a man named Manny Diaz.
Yes, who's a tremendous guy. But Gary Farmer was the head of the Senate, and the Democrats basically kicked him out because he was offensive and sexist remarks and not very effective at his job. So that is not necessarily a person I would automatically vote for next time.
Okay, that would be one.
Okay.
Now, what did you think about these shadow candidates that they put into races?
Well, that's dirty pool. And there's a guy down in over on the East Coast who may wind up going to jail because he
Yes.
financed one of those shadow campaigns. That basically what your listeners need to know is it's when they put a candidate up to challenge another
An incumbent,
an
or,
incumbent.
or the Democrat.
The Democrat usually they get a challenger, but the candidate doesn't actually run, and
They just put their name on the ballot.
in this particular case there was the fake Democrat. They thought took votes away from the actual real Democrat because their names were similar
Yes.
and allowed the Republican to win. And
And a lot of these races are won on very narrow margins.
and the guy who did that is indicted and he's going to face trial. But that goes on. Got to
It
pay
goes
attention.
on. Getting back to gerrymandering, one thing that black people are very familiar with is the black seat.
Yeah.
So they gerrymander the seats, so there's one seat that black people can win.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, hey, we gave you one. That's
We
what they'll
gave you
say.
one.
And it's manure. It's just awful.
I love your vocabulary, sir.
Well, I could have said something else, but I didn't.
I believe we're just getting ready for a break now, aren't we? It's that time.
Well, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We're playing your favorite old school. touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Hi, this is Angela Birdsong, and during the week, I'm affectionately known as the Medicare lady. Do not try to navigate Medicare without me. Please call me at 813-476-4837. I also do life insurance, and I will help people who are Medicare, Medicaid. Once again, 813-476-4837. 4837. Hello, and we are back. I am so excited because we have an actual live journalist in the studio who does this all the time.
We're a dying breed.
He is from FloridaPolitics.com, and as you know, local news is under assault, and
Yeah, it really is.
so he's on the internet now, which is a beautiful thing. You can access his work all the time.
The news doesn't change, the delivery system does.
Yes.
And
They're finding a way to get it to you.
yeah, and all you got to do is click it, and it's free. Florida Politics is free. So go to FloridaPolitics.com and read all about it.
You know what? I want to talk a little bit about this St. Pete mayoral race because I'm thinking we might have a black St. Pete mayor.
At this point, I think it likely.
Wonderful. Mr. Welch.
Ken Welch. Yeah, he, longtime political figure over there, very well known, respected.
Okay.
He is number one in a large field of candidates for the upcoming primary later this month in St. Petersburg. The top two finishers go to the general election
Okay.
in November. He is in a poll commissioned by Florida Politics.
Yes.
He is the number one candidate. It's close. There's a Republican named Robert Blackman who's probably going to finish second.
I see.
And it'll be a showdown in November between those two. But I would imagine Ken Welch would win that race because he'll get all the votes.
Because St. Pete is trending blue.
It's not trending. It is blue.
Okay.
And, so that'll be a good day. He'll do a great job. And,
Well, I tell you, I didn't know a lot about him, but I have seen him on a couple of forums, and I've been very impressed.
Yes. And what's interesting is that race began to turn when another one of the candidates, a Democrat named Darden Rice, progressive, very smart, very effective city council member, made a tactical blunder and sent out a mailer that went to all the voters in that race comparing Mr. Welch to Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And that blew up in her face big time. And she began to drop like a stone in the polls, because when you get on a local race like this, people know those candidates.
People know them.
And
Ken Welch is a native
St. Pete.
St. Pete person, yeah.
But they go, wait a minute, he's not Trump. And what are you trying to do here?
You're lying to me. If you're lying to me about this, what else are you lying to me about?
Well, and that's, I wrote a column about this whole situation, where, negative political ads have been around forever and will be around forever.
Yes.
Consultants say that's the best way to go.
Negative works. That's
Negative
what they
works.
say.
But as it gets more down on the local level, it doesn't work as well anyway, unless you really got something.
Right.
And now you can go, people will go negative against DeSantis, and they'll go negative against Charlie Crist or Nikki Fried, whoever runs against him. They'll, obviously with Biden and Trump, it was negative all day, all night.
Right.
But when you get down to the city council and a county commission and you try to do one of those big scare things, that will make your opponent seem like the Antichrist. They just
tune out.
They tune out because they're going, no, wait a minute, no. And like you said, well, if you're lying about this, what else are you lying about?
Yes. We also have Wengay Newton in that race, and he's a longtime politician.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be getting much traction
Okay.
in this. Latest polls show it's pretty well coalesced between Ken Welch and Robert Blackman. Darden Rice is spending a lot of money, and she's still running hard, but
She's not getting there. Okay, well, all right, all you folks out there, get busy. If you know anybody who lives in St. Petersburg, Florida, we have a big black community out there, so you can be well represented in that race. Tell friends.
Yes, and I'm not big on guilt tripping people, but it is your civic duty to get educated and to vote.
It is.
It's
and
not
and
just
believe me, the black vote can make a huge difference.
It should make a huge difference. You have people who have been marginalized for decades, and they need to understand Republicans are scared of them. That's why they're
Really?
erecting all these
Barriers.
So, as you and I have discussed before, if I'm someone affected by this, okay, you want to make it harder? I'll show you. I'll do what I got to do.
Absolutely.
And-
Register to vote. Get everybody in your house registered to vote.
Not only registered to vote, but learn what the restrictions are and what you have to do to navigate them.
Yes.
If it's a form of ID you need, make sure you have it.
Right.
If it's vote by mail,
And you have to request it.
you have
Request it.
Yes, request it, and then, with the latest law they just passed, next election, you got to request it again if that's what you want. Republicans, I guess, were scared that voters could be bought off with a bottle of water standing in 90-degree heat, waiting to vote. So,
But what did Michelle Obama say? Bring your lunch.
yeah,
Bring a chair, an umbrella, and do not get out that line.
do not, and, bring your own water.
Thank goodness we really don't have the line thing as much here, but that vote by mail, you have to be on top of it. You should know who your supervisor election is. It's their duty to make sure that you have everything you need to vote.
And particularly in Hillsborough County, we have a tremendous supervisor of
They are
elections
there to
office.
serve.
And they will help you in any way you need to be helped to get you registered and to make sure your vote counts.
Yes. And the website is very user-friendly.
Very user friendly, and it's got profiles of all the candidates on there, what they do,
Yes.
and who they are, what their background is.
You can find out where your precinct is.
Find out where your precinct is. You can find out anything you want to know, and then it's got
Who
a
your
photo.
elected officials are
Yep.
on the county commission, on city council.
And those are the people who impact your life
That's
most
right.
directly. They're the ones.
So places like, organizations like the League of Women Voters, the Democratic Black Caucus, Progressive Caucus will be putting out slate cards. Or with the League of Women Voters, they'll even come and talk to your group personally.
Yes, they will. And these groups have your best interests at heart.
Yes.
And these days, there is no excuse not to vote. I vote by mail and
Very
have for
good.
a long time.
It's safe.
Oh,
It's effective. You can track
Totally.
your vote.
absolutely. And
Don't wait. Do it early.
register now
Register now.
while you're thinking about it.
That's right. Right now, you should go just type in Hillsborough County
Supervisor.
supervisor elections. That's right.
And follow the instructions on there and make your voice heard. And then after you are registered, learn what days early voting is, what you have to do, where you have to go, how you have to do it, how you have to mark your ballot, because they're going to check to make sure your signature matches the one they have on file.
Okay. And people's signatures do change over time.
They do. And so you got to cross all the T's, dot all the I's.
And help a senior citizen. If you know someone near you needs a little assistance, help them out.
Yeah, it's more vital now than ever.
It is.
And, you know, it's your power. You take it or you leave it. But if you leave it, somebody else is going to grab it.
And believe it or not, about 20% of the vote in Florida is black people.
Yep.
The Democratic Black Caucus has 22 chapters strong all over the state. So we're really excited about Val Demings running.
That one's going to be maybe the most watched Senate race in the country.
Wow, right here.
I really believe it because Marco Rubio is going for his third term, very polarizing, and not really all that effective, in my opinion. You know,
Well, you know, the Cubans support him in South Florida.
They do, and obviously a lot of people support him.
And all the Republicans, yes.
Yes, but Val Demings is coming to win.
She's coming on strong.
And
she's qualified.
She's in it to win it, and this will be the toughest opponent Rubio has faced.
Absolutely.
And
she's a real opponent.
Oh, she got game.
Yes, she's qualified.
She's qualified. She's smart. She's tough.
And you know that police background, it's not hurting candidates.
No, because I think people can see through the shrill language that comes.
Defund the police. That is not a Democratic slogan. That's a Black Lives Matter slogan, but the two are not the same.
No, and what they mean by defund the police is not, don't shut down the police department.
Correct.
Redirect some of the situations.
Some of those funds towards social programs.
Which would mean that an officer arriving at a domestic disturbance without violence would not have to go in and start cracking heads. You could have a trained social worker there to help whoever it is get through it.
You know, they call the police for homeless people. What can the police do?
Well, that's a great question. We actually did that one time on a Sunday a couple of years ago at Temple Terrace United Methodist Church, where I was at. There was a woman acting in distress and very strange. We didn't know what to do, so we called the police. Thought, you know, trying to protect her, basically. We thought they would Baker act her. What they did was they took her off the property and let her out on the street.
Yes, they are not equipped to deal with the homeless or anyone who having a psychiatric issue. They are not trained for it.
Right, and so we shouldn't put that on their plate.
They have enough.
They have enough.
I mean, they deal with bad guys, and that really is enough.
Genuine bad guys.
Yes. So that's real. Now, tell us some stories we should be looking for in Florida politics.
Well, the only story anybody cares about right now is Governor DeSantis and the mask
and the children
and the mask edict. It is having an impact on him because his approval rating is now negative. More people disapprove of him than approve, and he appears to recognize that because his tone has softened a little bit today. You know, he's not out there.
He's not pulling it back.
No, he's not pulling it back, and he's literally betting people's lives that this is going to break his way, and it's possible it will. And here's why: because more and more people are getting vaccinated. And if you haven't been vaccinated yet, go get the shot.
Please do. All vaccinated here.
Me too.
You know what? We're running out of time. Do you want people to contact you?
If they
have a question or concern about Florida politics?
Sure, they can go on the site. All my columns are on there.
Okay.
And there's a comment section under all of them. If they got a question, put it on there, and I'll try to answer it
Okay,
for
they
them.
can contact you directly through the website.
Yep, floridapolitics.com.
It is such an awesome, awesome site. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
All right.
playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Thinking politics? Tampa Bay Politics is on every Wednesday at 11 a.m. with Angela Birdsong. Tune in right here on In Touch Radio.
When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
I know that's right.
On your smooth soul and R&B station.
On the World Wide Web.
Access granted.
In Touch Radio.
Once again, we are back with one of my favorite guests. Don't say I said that. But I'm Angela Birdsong, with your host of Tampa Bay Politics, and we have in the studio with us a real-life journalist, Mr. Joe Henderson, formerly of the Tampa Tribune, and now with FloridaPolitics.com.
Yes, I am.
All right. You know what, quickly, what are some stories that people might want to look for right now on Florida Politics?
Well, as we started off on the last section, it's all about the mask mandate with Governor DeSantis and the school kids, and the teachers are losing their minds over it. Parents, we found out 61% of people in Florida support mandatory masks right now.
I know if I had a child in school, I would support it.
Yeah, I mean, it's, my son and daughter-in-law are both school teachers with a
Really?
with a 3-month-old baby, and don't think we're not concerned about that.
Very concerned, because you can't vaccinate a baby.
No, and we're all vaccinated. Get vaccinated, people. But we're
Especially black people.
especially every people.
Yes.
But if you haven't got it, you better go get the shot. Be smart. But anyway, the governor. People say, well, why is DeSantis doing this?
Yes.
Okay, because he wants to be president in 2024, which begs the question: why would you vote for him in 2022 to be the governor if he wants to skip out after 2 years? And these days, you don't just run for president, 6 months before the election. You run constantly.
Right.
So his second term, he'd be off speaking in Idaho and all these other Republican strongholds. Who'd be minding the store back here? I've written this. This is a question.
It's a very, very good question, because he has made it very well known that he has political ambitions to be president.
And he's very popular with the
The base.
The base, as I like to call them, the almighty base, because that seems to be all that the Republicans worry about. That's all Trump worried about, was that 35-36% of the
That didn't work too well the second time around.
Well, he gave it his best shot, trying to rig the vote in Georgia and Arizona and other places. But no, it does not work well when you only are going to govern 35-40% of the country. That leaves 60% who doesn't like you very much.
And guess what? They didn't think about black people mobilizing.
They didn't. And now that it's dawned on them that can happen.
That can happen. Stacey Abrams showed them that she knows how to mobilize her people.
Yes, she did. And, that was, why did alarm bells go off after the election? Because Republicans knew. They know the election wasn't stolen.
They know it wasn't stolen. They know that black people got to the polls. Black people sent in their votes by mail.
Black people said, hey, wait a minute, we got some power here.
We got power, but why don't we just use it?
Yep. And so you have a black senator from Georgia.
Amen.
So,
and Georgia turned blue.
And they are going after, the Empire strikes back on this one.
I know. Yes. I mean, it with a vengeance.
So you gotta, whether anybody wants to realize it or not, you're in the game. You're on the field.
Yes.
And it's really your choice. What kind of city, state,
Local
nation
government, yes.
What do we want? And if you just go, nobody cares about that stuff, you're going to pay the price. Because
And you know what? Black people and brown people are being called to save the United States of America again.
you know what's funny? It's funny. It's funny, not funny. The Hillsborough County Republican Party has a Lincoln Day dinner. They honor the man who...
Yes, the Democratic Party is having theirs coming up, which is the Kennedy King dinner.
Okay.
Yes. Tickets
right.
are available online.
So, do you know who they invited to be their guest speaker at the Republican dinner that honors the name of the man who freed the slaves?
No.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No.
Truth.
She is coming in to speak to them? She just got banned from Twitter.
Yeah, she's crazy.
She's a liar.
And she is the one, she's raking in cash hand over
gosh.
fist because there's Wingnut Nation, as I like to call them, loves these conspiracy theories. And they want to
Wow.
believe that there's this giant
Cabal.
out there of black people, brown people, progressives, liberals, and we all, that they all hate America. And,
Wow.
and
That's very scary.
they have to save us from us real Americans, because those guys are fake Americans. That's what they believe.
That's what they believe.
And they sit there and they swallow large doses of Fox News and One America Network and Newsmax. That's all they do all day.
All day long.
And they just repeat these conspiracies.
And Fox
lies.
News isn't even run by an American.
Well, and Fox News,
It's run by an Australian.
compared to Newsmax and One America Network, Fox News is liberal.
Wow.
And they were on the latter two networks. They were actually reporting as fact that the voting machine company that provided all the Dominion voting machines, provided the vast majority of voting machines around the country, had installed software that switched Trump votes to Biden.
Yeah, but guess what? Fox News is happening to them. They're being sued for
Well,
that.
all
$1
of-
billion lawsuit.
$1 billion will get your attention. And so Fox beat a hasty retreat. Go, whoa.
We didn't really say that. We didn't really mean that.
Oh, golly. And they're, you know how they defended one of their main nighttime personalities, Tucker Carlson?
How?
Because he was spewing this
Yes.
stolen election thing. Their own lawyers said, well, you can't really believe what he says. He's just an entertainer. He's not really a reporter.
I know. And how could anyone possibly really believe that?
Well,
That's what their defense is.
yeah, and except a lot of people do believe it.
I know.
And that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene exists, and why Matt Gaetz, who's the U.S. representative from up in the Pensacola area,
Once again, from Florida.
from Florida, he believes it.
And who took young girls across state lines.
Allegedly, he's going to.
They take that kind of activity in Florida very seriously.
They take it very seriously everywhere, and he's in a world of hurt right now because one of his main buddies pled guilty to just what you're talking about.
Yes.
And Gates was along on some of those trips, and prosecutors in cases like that, they know how to squeeze the guys on a little bit lower level because they want the big fish, and the big fish in this case is Matt Gaetz.
Yes.
So.
You know anybody who's running? There is someone running against him, isn't
Yeah,
there?
it doesn't
but
matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
They could be, and I'm not kidding. They could be fitting him for an orange jumpsuit, and 70% of his district would vote for him.
Yes, they would. And he's tagging along with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, they're BFFs.
Wow.
So-
and they will be here in Tampa. I'm sorry to hear about that.
Well, it's phenomenal.
But you know what? We cannot give up hope. We have our vote.
You got to use your vote.
We got to use our vote. We can vote some of these people out.
You can. And the gubernatorial elections and
That's the first place we can start, right there.
and the Senate race.
And the Senate race. So
These-
we need to vote Democratic. It's either going to be Chris or Freed. There you go. Either one, I'm for them. And then we got Val Demings.
Well, and here's the thing. All those statewide elections like that are close. They're always like 0.5%.
Yes.
So if enough people band together and utilize their vote, and I'm not telling anybody how to vote.
I am. Vote blue.
That's
That's on me.
Yeah, that's on her.
It's my show.
Okay. It's your show. You can do what you want. But if you throw away your vote, you go back to the presidential election between Al Gore and George W. Bush
Which was decided in Florida.
by
Like 200 votes.
577. 577 votes, and it altered the course of the United States
It did.
because Bush got us, there was 9/11. I'm not blaming him for that, but
But I am blaming from the
That-
Afghanistan war.
if people understood history, they would realize nobody's ever won a war in Afghanistan. Russia tried it, couldn't do it. We spent 20 years and trillions of dollars and how many dead humans over there, and now we're just going, okay, you win, we're out of here.
Yes.
Uh,
It's the inevitable, and they finally faced it.
Yep. So you say your vote doesn't matter?
It absolutely does. It
Think about
changed the whole course of the world when you think about it.
578 more people vote.
Wow. I mean, that's deep when you think about it. And you know what? Black people are going to once again be the catalyst when it comes to the next election, because if Stacey Abrams can get her people back, if Florida can just get 1% more and 20% are black people, we know that. We can do this.
Well, you've got to get out into the local communities right now. Don't wait till next year. Go out there now. Go to the community forums. Talk to any church group you can. Talk to any civic group you can. Show people how to get registered to vote and let them know unequivocally what's at stake. Because if Republicans weren't scared about this, or at least aware of it,
Oh, they're very scared about it. That's why they're doing what they're doing.
they wouldn't erect
They
this.
understand the power of black and brown people voting.
And there is
That's why they don't want felons to vote.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that was a nice little deal they came up with on that.
You got to pay your fines.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. And they knew what they were doing. It was cynical. Everybody knew what they were voting for that. It passed overwhelmingly.
Yes.
People, I think, in this country, in this state, are generally a caring, forgiving people. And they said, all right, you've done your time.
Yes.
All right, welcome back. Now, we
Yes.
want to help you assimilate into society. And Republicans went, not so fast. And so there was, a drive by Mike Bloomberg to help those folks pay off
Yes,
their fines.
and I don't know if you know Desmond's last name, but Desmond is the one who's in charge of the Florida
Right.
Restoration of Rights,
Right.
and they will pay your fines.
Yes, but you got to take the first step, and you got
Yes,
to,
and contact them.
exactly.
But it's Florida Restorations of Rights, and they have a website. I don't remember exactly, but if you type that in, they got money. They got funds for you.
Mm-hmm.
So this time, I'm really saying goodbye to Joe Henderson. I'm so happy that he came in. I mean, you're one of the people that are making a difference in our community.
Doing my best.
All right. Got to have you back soon.